Welcome to the Filmsteins, the double feature podcast. Join us as we unravel the interwoven experience of the continuous conversation of cinema. Take part in pairing movies with their cursed counterparts, movies that share DNA, or even pairing questionable duos by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films to further the discussion. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to join the 100-year conversation. This is the Filmsteins, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience.
They're an experience.
All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Filmsteins. Thank you guys for joining us today. Today I am joined by my farmer friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
You can join us every Monday and Friday for brand new episodes of the Filmsteins on all of our free feeds, like YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and every other Wednesday on patreon.com/Filmsteins for Patreon exclusive episodes, like our most recent exclusive episode where we ranked Tim Burton's filmography, directed filmography. Has Tim Burton ever made a good film? Some other recent episodes include The Watchers, A Quiet Place Day 1, War of the Worlds, and Ty West's X. Remember, leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas on our Patreon as well. Come subscribe for $1. Come right in. Come request a movie. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much.
Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at HempvilleCBD.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
But today we are talking about Ty West's second of the trilogy, his 2022 film, Pearl, about Pearl and her pearly life. It's a prequel, sequel, right, to X. We get some sort of exposition on Pearl, which you did think was kind of a mysterious, empathetic character in a funny way, in a funny situation. We get a wild, left turn with Pearl. It looks different. It feels different. It's almost this Joker-esque kind of fall into madness and has everything that was missing in X, funny enough, with this extraordinary performative role coming out of Mia Goth playing Pearl. And it's kind of funny because it is like a literal representation of when people say, man, I'd kill for that job. I'd kill to be in that movie. But like I said, this is a very different film from X, so I'm very curious how you feel about Pearl.
I absolutely love this movie. It was disturbing and tragic, but also very intense. I love that we got Pearl's origin story. I like that comparison to the Joker film because we have this very huge focus on her character. And as you said, her path to madness. And after X, you have questions, of course, why is Pearl the way she is? And this absolutely gets answered. We know she's always been a little bit fucked up. Because even before this film, her mom kind of lets us know that she's always been a little on the off side. I like that we have these intertwined themes of loneliness and repression and these family dynamics that come into play in this film. And like the movie X, it has a very focused idea and a very definitive story that's being told. And of course, it's attributed to Ty West directing and editing, but this film feels like it has a very nice completeness. And I found out that Mia Goth was part of the writing process along with Ty West. So I really like that because that's why it felt so complete to me. This movie looks beautiful. We have lots of symmetry. We have lots of nods and Easter eggs to the first movie. We have this very bright, vivid color palette. which I absolutely love, put against this very eerie tone that we have going on with the story. Mia Goth's performance was great. There's no doubt about that. She was phenomenal. And her smile really started to creep me out. And I love it. The sets were awesome. The props were awesome. The score was awesome. The pacing was great. This movie had a very similar runtime to X. I believe this movie was an hour 42 and X was an hour 47. So, like, right on the dot, pretty much. And I just love how unsettling this movie was. Which I think it's weird for me to like a movie that's heavily character driven, because I feel like I'm more of a plot driven movie watcher.
I'm probably rubbing off on you.
You might be rubbing off on me, because I don't know, just something about these movies where we focus on characters and it feels like we're not doing much of anything bore me a little. But then we have this movie and I was just so surprised how much I really liked it. And I don't know about you, but I think Pearl makes X a better movie. Similar to how Dune Part 2 made Dune Part 1 a better movie.
Yeah, the trilogy and extended universe thing is such a challenging thing because it can help and hurt in both ways. Like the animated Miles Morales Spider-Man movies and the MCU. And you start to run in these funny things where all of a sudden there's a lot of homework, potentially, like with MCU or Star Wars or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
People like that.
Theoretically, very, very cool, but it's hard to pull off. And I think Disney's obviously facing some of that challenge.
Yeah, Disney went too far with Marvel and the homework. Way too far. I don't even know who we're on anymore.
They shuffled Disney Plus in the mix, so they're trying to make it all kind of work at the same time. And it's kind of funny that we talk about Disney because this movie's obviously very Disney-esque in its aesthetic, obviously very Wizard of Oz, probably more than anything else. I love the flip in sort of genre and aesthetic. It's something I've wished would happen more in video games for pretty much all my life, where you would have this franchise and you would have the core game. And I always wished, if they were going to continue the franchise, why don't they reimagine what this franchise can look like in different genres? And so here we get a really great example of that cinematically. And like X, they do it in a very performative fashion. In the first one, it's less character driven to help bring focus to the parallels and just the question of what and where people will go for stardom. And here, like you said, we get a much more focused look on a performative role, like the Joker, like Pig, like the Whale. But at the same time, we're continuing that really cool splicing we had in X, where we get repeated dialogue from Pearl and X. And that repeated dialogue kind of reminds me of how people of certain religious sects will recite certain verses and preachings. You know how people will spit this archaic wisdom at you based off of, the certain conditions that are being handed to you in life right now. Almost like they're triggered by certain keywords. There's this weird repetition that happens throughout X and now Pearl that begs to be kind of connected across the two films. And like I was kind of saying in X, seems to be this more kind of meta observation on this particular kind of passion. So it's cool. I also like that there's this funny parallel between Pearl and Maxine from X pursuing similar, at least mentally, taboos of their time. We got a showgirl, or whatever the dancing girls are, in Pearl's time, and then we got a porn star in Maxine's time. Very fun progression of what can be a taboo.
Yeah, and I really like this connection that these films make where we find out why Pearl is jealous of Maxine. And it's not because she's beautiful and young, but because of her freedom and because Pearl had these unfulfilled dreams. Getting into Pearl, the movie, we know what's going to happen because of X. We know where she's going to end up, still at the farm.
And they do a wonderful job kind of obfuscating that, making you think she might stand a chance.
Yeah, you think, oh, the church thing is going to pan out for her. She might get it. I mean, that performance she did for him, she felt great. She did a great job, you know. You're kind of hopeful still.
And I'd have a hard time telling you that was a great on-stage performance, but it was funny that they just trivialized it and said that she wasn't American enough. She wasn't blonde enough. That was a nice offhand comment, backhand, to the effort that Pearl or someone else would put into something like that.
Yeah, that's not the look they're going for, so no matter what you do, you're not getting the part.
It's predestined.
Yeah. Because we also know that Howard stays with her despite everything she's just done in the movie.
I know, you're like, how does Howard deal with this?
Yes.
And it's beautifully teased to not show us literally anything.
Yes.
It's great.
Yes.
Speaking of Howard, my favorite little slip-in, little edit was when Pearl was imagining Howie stepping on a mine, just exploding, basically. It's really shocking and so out of left field, really. Especially compared to what the rest of the movie is charged with. I said this in X because half of X is committed to producing the porno. I don't know if it's so obvious that Pearl is going to end up killing her parents and killing the projectionist.
Yeah, that's very well said. And that's part of the unsettling nature of this movie because you don't know what's going on. And I like that you say that because the whole movie, we get bits and pieces of Pearl seeing him come home. She misses him. She reads his letters. She talks about him with the in-laws. The whole time you think Pearl can't wait for her husband to come home. Even with that bit with the projectionist, you never question her loyalty to Howard. And then we get that. And then all of a sudden, these conflicting feelings that Pearl has for Howard are just, what the fuck? Now you gotta question everything you just saw.
Yeah, and I like that Howard's always at a distance with her, kind of implying this distance she's at with him and not really being part of a whole with him.
Which, that scene where he blows up, by the way, I did not like it being paired with her squishing the baby alligator. That was so unsettling. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. I mean, it was just, oh my god, it was so gnarly. I feel like we didn't get this kind of unsettling in X. Because some of the other unsettling elements, which there's a lot in here, let's face it, but when Pearl is pinching her dad and all these little things she's doing to her dad and like bathing in front of him, I mean, all that is so unsettling. It's so good.
Yeah, we don't get that level of psychoticness in X. Pearl's psychotic. She's got some issues.
She's
that kind of kid who rips the legs off of frogs or something. Is just abusive towards animals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's introduced by, which does set the stage that, you know, there's kind of murder is on the horizon, but she forks the goose and feeds it to her alligator friend.
Oh my god. She's like a little kid, but she's also like a teenager still. I don't know how old she's supposed to be in the movie. I think maybe 20. That's what I'm guessing. But I just love how just psychotic and extra and dramatic she is. I think my favorite part in the whole entire film is when she yells at the scarecrow and tells him, "I'm married." I don't know what she says, but I think she just screams out, like, "I'm married, like, how dare you?" And you're just like, what? Like, you just took down a scarecrow, you made out with him, and then you just yell at him like, "Don't touch me, scarecrow, I'm married." And then she proceeds to dry hump the scarecrow, and excuse me, what did I just watch? It was hilarious. And I don't know how else to describe that scene besides unsettlingly hilarious. I just loved it. I love how she screamed at him. It's like when you're a kid and you scream at your teddy bear because your mom made you eat your broccoli. Like, I don't know, when you scream at your pet because of what your boss said. Like, just these weird, bizarre things that kids do. I don't know how to describe it, but it was just so funny to me. And then again later on, when the projectionist takes her home and, you know, he gets a little weirded out and she said, "Oh, what dog are you talking about?" And he's like, well, now he knows something's going on. And then he says, "I'll see you later." And she's like, When are you going to see me?" And then he's like, "I don't know. That's just an expression." And that was so funny because that is just an expression. That's what people say. Like when people say, "I'm going to be with you forever," that's just an expression. And then you have these psychos out in the world that took that to heart. "How dare you divorce me? You said we were going to stay together forever." It's like, no, that's just what people say at the time. That's just really what teenagers say at the time, the heat of the moment. Like, that's just what we do. Normal people don't take it like that. So I just loved it that she was like, "Well, when?" He's like, "I don't know. That's just what you say." Let me back away.
Yeah, I'm thinking about every instance where she's kind of developing her psychoticness, pinching her dad, cracking the alligator egg, the scarecrow, obviously the monologue she has with Mitzi. I think this is one reason I really enjoy kind of singular, hyper-performative roles of kind of peeling back what a character is all about. Because when it's so centralized, we're all of a sudden seeing everything through their eyes, whoever that character might be. But yeah, every one of those psychotic scenes is awesome. Even the smallest one, probably with her pinching her dad to see if he can feel, to see if he'll react. Or maybe just to take a little frustration out.
Yeah.
You know?
Like when you pinch your kid.
Yeah.
Don't pinch your kids. Or when she's telling the animals after her mom like gets on her, "I'm gonna run away and you're never gonna see me again." Like it's so good. And that's so small.
And innocent, arguably, because you talk to your animals. You should. They're they're part of the family. You should include them in some kind of conversation. Obviously don't expect much of anything to come back.
I really like how all these psychotic behaviors that Pearl displays is because of this isolation she feels and this longing for some kind of connection with the world, and her questioning, what is wrong with me? Why can't I connect with the world? Why will no one tell me what's wrong? And she wants to fix it, but she doesn't get answers and doesn't get what she wants, and starts questioning, why does God give you that life and he's giving me this life? And just this extreme emotional distress causes her to go ballistic. I just love it.
Yeah, if anything was missing, maybe a focus on her belief in God, of course, but also her like kind of fuck you attitude towards God. Like, you're giving me the worst hands constantly, and I'm obviously trying to do something bigger than myself. But I don't know, you might kind of just get that on some level with the tension between Pearl and Mitzi. Because the time and place helps build that without saying it. The recognition of the taboo nature of the French porno that's getting going. Maybe some of that is there.
Yeah, some of that could be there in her monologue without saying it. But then I like how at the end she basically accepts that she fucked up and she can't do anything about it. She can't bring her parents back from the dead. And then now when Howard comes home, she's going to be a good girl. She's going to be a good wife and give him the life he always wanted.
Yeah, there's almost kind of an observation of the danger of therapy in itself and how you can convince yourself and be self-destructive by giving up in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw where she ends up in X. I also enjoyed that we get this very small parallel to her mom. We get a glimpse of what the mom has been through right before she dies. And she tells Pearl, "You think this is the life I wanted for myself? You think I wanted to be this man's mother instead of his wife?"
Yeah, that seems to be one of the major echoes we're getting through X and Pearl, and I suspect Maxine is going to focus on it even more because of Maxine pursuing her pornographic dreams, acting dreams.
Stardom dreams.
Stardom, yeah. We get that echo of people wanting more than they started with, more than the hands that they've been dealt. But at the same time, kind of recognizing with the defeat the predestination of it all and the cyclical nature of it as well. Because Pearl doesn't leave the house.
Yeah.
You know, she probably was born in that house and she definitely dies in that house. That's one of those threads that kind of helps tighten X and maybe Maxine in the future. That's a little bit more prominent without being said throughout the whole movie, and it's really good. It's shockingly good, actually, how effective the dialogue is and the conversation is, and Pearl specifically. Less so in X, but like I said, X is less about character and more the situation, the parallels.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how Ty West did it coming off of his previous work. He had some kind of revelation, some paradigm shift in his life where he's making actual great movies now.
Damn.
I mean, congratulations, really.
Congrats, Ty. I've never seen his previous work. So this is it for me. This is my introduction to Ty West. And he's doing a phenomenal job, tell you what.
Everyone's got it in them to make something really great. You know, sometimes your medium's off. Sometimes you're making horror films and you should probably making a thriller or something. Or maybe instead of movies, you should be making video games or something like that. But Ty West figured it out.
He figured it out.
Just so everybody knows, that stag film that Pearl watched is a real film called A Free Ride.
The Dirty film's a real film?
The Dirty film, yeah. Old dirty films were known as stag films, yeah.
Oh, interesting. The cinematography of this film is just absolutely awesome. I love the introduction of the movie. I don't know how to describe it besides like a stage production of some sort, because we have the barn doors opening and then we see the house, which that's how X begins too, with the house. I like that connection there. So we see the house and then we see Pearl and she's in front of a mirror. She's wearing one of her mom's dresses and then the lights go off and you hear that like stage light sound, like she's putting on a show for us.
Well, it's just that she's the main character of her world and she's gonna embrace that to its fullest. Yeah, I think the cinematography and the coloring is obviously the most dramatic shift from X, and it's probably really the coolest point too, because of how much personality and style they both have while also being very different. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And especially coming out only months apart from each other.
That's crazy. I can't believe that. The work that went behind these two films is insane. It's pretty awesome. I also really like the props, but especially the rotting food. And it made me think of the film itself, how good that rotting food looked. Like the pig looked great with maggots on it, but of course, it's unsettling. Just how like vivid and beautiful this movie looks, it's still unsettling. The table she prepares at the very, very end when she rolls in her dead dad and her dead mom, the table looks amazing. All those props there look amazing, but it's just so eerie, and I loved it. I think the entire end of the movie was freaking awesome. The whole movie was awesome, but the end was just crazy. Because also one of my favorite scenes after her monologue is when she's chasing Mitzi down the driveway. Because for a second there, I thought she was going to get out of this alive. Until Pearl asks her, or really tells her, congratulations on getting the part. Because we all knew she got the part. They made it very clear that they were looking for someone blonde. And if you look at all the girls that were there, Mitzi was the only blonde one. So obviously Mitzi got the part. And then she lied about it. And then she lied about it again. And then on the third ask, she said, well, yeah, I did. And that's when she fucked up. But then Pearl knew she was lying, so she fucked up when she started lying. I don't know when she fucked up, but she fucked up.
Yeah, it's kind of a complicated scene because at that point, Mitzi is so unsettled. All of a sudden, you don't know if she's just trying to tell Pearl what she wants to hear.
Yeah.
Or if she's, all right, I did. I'm sorry, I got it.
Yeah.
Also, I kind of took it, Pearl not congratulating her on her getting the part for the church troupe, but for getting the part in her movie to be her next victim.
Oh, dang.
That's kind of how I took it.
Congrats, you're next.
Yeah.
And then she just chased her down. She axes her down. The suspense built in that scene was just great. I don't know how else to describe it. I just wanted Mitzi to take off her shoes and just start booking it. But no, she's like just trying to politely walk down the driveway, and oh my god, it was so good.
It was excellent, especially the sequence of it actually happening. But I will say the literal action of her hitting Mitzi with the axe, kind of lousy.
I don't know if at that point my suspense level was just so high.
That's what Ty West is hoping.
Yeah, because I was there for it. I really was.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about action in film where if it doesn't look right to me, it kind of bothers the shit out of me. Maybe that's why I don't really like action. I'm sort of repulsed by it in a repulsion kind of way. And maybe that's why I like John Wick so much, because it's so tightly choreographed. Yeah. So
some of us out there aren't as picky as you, and we love it. I like how this movie ends. It's very clear she's lost it. She's full into her Pearl villain persona, I guess. I don't know how else to say that. And I like how it makes you as the audience feel so many emotions. You're in shock, like Howard is, but you're also saddened and feeling some regret along with Pearl, because this is what she had all along, a family to sit down and eat dinner with, and she didn't appreciate it. And then you're just disturbed with that unnerving smile that continues a little bit too long, and you can't help but to watch her and keep watching her. And then in the back of your mind, you're thinking, this is what Howard is seeing as soon as he comes home. Like, oh my god, what is going on?
Yeah, what is Howard doing on the other side of the camera? Yeah. He's just like, I'm just gonna take a seat. What's for dinner? What an embrace of a performative role to trying to even execute such a still long take of someone just deconstructing what expression even looks like.
Yes, agreed.
It reminds me a lot of the end of Perfect Days, where Hirayama is also having a moment.
Yeah, when he's staring off, the sun is gleaming on his face, and he's just happy to be alive.
Well, man, thank you for watching this movie with me and talking about it here today.
You're welcome.
Do you have a budget guess?
I'm going with 5 million. X was $1 million. This looks beautiful. He had some money. Not a lot of money. X didn't make a lot of money, but it made way more than its budget, so I'm feeling he had a little bit more to spend here.
It's kind of crazy because he started filming this immediately after X. X was not even in theaters yet. And it says on Wikipedia that the crew from Avatar: The Way of Water was at his disposal. That's weird. I guess he was at the same place they were at filming Avatar 2 in New Zealand, of all places. But it says here that it cost $8 million. So many times more expensive than X. I'm a little surprised just because it was such a continuation. And it might be one of those things where it's hard to distinguish between the two budgets because Pearl was using a lot of the same locations and props and people.
Yeah, or it could have been 9 million together and they didn't know how to distinguish what. So
yeah. But it went on to make $10.1 million. So not crazy numbers, obviously. I'm pretty sure X and Pearl had limited releases.
Okay.
Like a lot of A24 films for some freaking reason. But like X, I think this probably went on streaming and VOD, made quite a bit of money because it has become a major cult classic. And over on Letterboxd, with 1.14 million people, they weighed in at a 3.7.
3.7?
That's pretty high.
I was thinking that's pretty low.
Oh man, I think that's very good. Especially for a horror film. It's like, oh man, that's maybe the sign of a great movie.
That's true. That's very true. I'm giving it a 4.
That's very good. No, well, congratulations. I'm probably sticking with a 3. Balancing X and Pearl in my head has been difficult. I like Pearl more because I like Pearl. And X is missing that kind of character. And like I've established many times, especially in this episode, those performative roles are very attractive. Nick Cage and Pig? Is Pig great without Nick Cage? I'm not sure. I'm not sure it is. But it's phenomenal because of Nick Cage. And Michael, of course. I mean, come on. He did Quiet Place Day 1. We know that's great too.
Yep.
So I'm probably giving Pearl a 3 though. Just like I did X.
That don't even sound right. But alright. We each have our own opinions.
But those two could shift in some form or another. I'm not sure. They are difficult films to place in my mind. It's not like War of the Worlds. Like, that's a fucking fart in the wind.
We'll get a better view over here. Giant bridge.
All right, Tom.
Cool.
But yeah, man, thank you for talking about this movie, and thank you guys for listening to this episode of The Filmistines. Our next episode will be about Maxine. Surprise. Ty West's wrap up to the trilogy. Let's see if it does some wrapping up. It's got a lot to live up to, which sucks. The pressure is immense, probably, for him. Because he made quite the splash with X and Pearl coming out, 9 months apart or something like that. So I'm very excited to see Maxine.
Me too.
I know it's going to take another spin in its cinematic treatment. I hope it does. It really kind of needs to stay consistent with these two films, right? So very excited what that's all about. But remember, we post every Monday and Friday with brand new episodes of The Filmistines on all of our free feeds, and every other Wednesday on Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines for Patreon exclusive episodes, like our recent Tim Burton ranking. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas on our Patreon as well. Come request a movie. Come subscribe for $1 for great episodes like our Tim Burton episode. But thank you guys very much. We appreciate the support. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives in the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is The Filmistines signing off.